Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and never really wanted to make this video, but here we are. So in the War Within, a brand new system is coming in known as hero talents, and one of those for Havoc Demon Hunter is Aldrachi Reaver. Now Aldrachi Reaver looks really powerful right now, but it plays terribly and has a ton of problems with it. So it kind of leaves Havoc in a bad spot. Do you play the strong thing, even though it feels terrible, or do you play the not so strong thing, even though it feels a little better? So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what I would do to fix the tree and what its problems are and stuff like that. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you hear a little buzzing sound in the background, it's my air conditioner. It's currently 40 degrees Celsius outside while I'm recording this, which is a lot for Canada, and not much else I can do about it. So with that out of the way, let's get on to the video and talk about how we can save Havoc and Aldrachi Reaver. So first things first, what is the hero talent? Well, hero talents are a little new system that's being added right in the middle here. Basically a new progression system of sorts as you level up to get with your class. Each spec has access to 2. And of course, because we're demon hunters, we only have two specs in total. So we only get 2 of them shared between each one. Those 2 are Fellscape and Aldrachi Reaver. Now, Aldrachi Reaver is the topic of today's video because of its problems. Fellscape has some problems too, but for the most part, it's fine, honestly. There's nothing really a little boring, but whatever. Now, Aldrachi Reaver is the main one here. Aldrachi Reaver is based on souls. We can read the little tooltip here. The Aldrachi warriors are the ultimate glaive masters and wielded their blades with deadly grace, consuming souls and imbuing their weapons with greater power. Now, that is true. Aldrachi warriors were a race that fought against Sargeras. They rejected his demon power, and then he kind of got mad and started to attack their world. But their warriors were so great that eventually it took Sargeras himself to kind of split their world in 2. They were ultimate masters of glaives. The Aldrachi warblades were the Legion artifact weapon for Vengeance Demon Hunter, and they used the souls of their enemies to kind of empower themselves. And that's what the tree is built around, right? You build up souls, so 6 soul fragments for Havoc, gives you the ability to throw out this Reaver's Glaive, which then makes your next Chaos Strike apply a 15% increased damage done to a target, and your Blade Hands do extra damage. There's other things in the tree that give you more souls, like Aldrachi Tactics. This one lets you use the glaive, so more souls, so to speak. Stuff that empowers your Chaos Strike with this gives you more souls. Reaver's Mark gives you more empowerment of Chaos Strike, gives you additional effectiveness from your Reaver's Glaive, and then also just giving you a damage and attack speed amp. Almost like a bit of a throwback to Chaos Blades, if you will. Now, the problems with this tree are honestly kind of multiple. There's like a ton. The first thing is just souls. The souls are a silly little mechanic that mostly revolves around vengeance. If I can open my there you go. I don't even know if we have a passive for it. I don't know. I think I'm hiding passives actually. But there is a little thing basically that allows souls to be collected. I don't see it here. I thought it was a passive, but it's not. For Havoc, we have something called Demonic Appetite that summons them. Again, it's not visible here, which is kind of fun. Here it is actually. Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a lesser soul fragment, consuming any gives you 20 fury. That's kind of all we have to do with souls. But the thing with that is that there are other talents, right? We have Sigil of Spite that can summon souls and soul sigils. Now these talents spawn them, which is really useful, and we'll be taking them with Aldrachi Reaver, but they summon them a very wide arc. That was me using it, and they all went pretty close to me, which wasn't that bad. We go up here in combat and use the Spirit Sigil of Flame. They kind of go everywhere, and they're very hard to see. So if we're just here, and we're just doing our little rotation here, we're pushing Chaos Strike as much as we can, just pushing Chaos Strike, just trying to summon some souls. A, they're RNG, and B, they kind of just go everywhere. Also, I just learned you can see other Demon Hunter souls, which is so fun. So they're really hard to see. I think one went behind me. I don't even really know, right? So it's really hard to tell where these souls are. Now imagine you're moving, right? One's gonna spawn really far. In things that aren't as complex, we go here. The souls can spawn in a much wider radius, right? Right now the soul's over here. That's like impossible to see. I don't even know if you guys can see that without zooming in. So that kind of sucks. Now for Vengeance, they have ways of dealing with this. They have something called Spirit Bomb. If I can swap over to Vengeance here, I'll show you what I mean. So it works a lot better for them. They basically have something called a Soul Suck, which I think we need. The Vengeance have this thing called Spirit Bomb, which actually sucks souls in for them. Also, their main spender, Soul Cleave, also sucks in souls. So they have a lot of soul generation. They also have ways of actually consuming those souls. So I'll generate souls here, and you'll see if I get enough fury here, that if I Spirit Bomb, they just get sucked back in, right? I don't have to run around to grab them. I don't have to worry about them spawning somewhere I can't get them. They just kind of happen. Havoc, not really. Havoc's not really meant for that. All their soul generation is RNG outside of the 1 minute or 30-second cooldown, which you have to kind of change your whole talent tree for, which is fine. Talents can change. But souls just don't really work for Vengeance, for Havoc. Souls do not work for Havoc. Now that's kind of an issue with the whole tree, but it's not something that's going to change. Not really. They're not going to remove the soul thing because that's kind of the Aldrachi thing, the theming. So we're kind of in an impasse here. It sucks for Havoc, but it kind of has to exist for the theming. But that's not the only thing that sucks. The other part that really sucks is Art of the Glaive and Thrill of the Fight. So let's break that down. So why do Art of the Glaive and Thrill of the Fight suck, right? What's the point here? So the main issue with Art of the Glaive is the Chaos Strike applies a Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. The main issue with Thrill of the Fight is after consuming both enhancements, gain Thrill of the Fight, increasing your attack speed by 15% for 20 seconds, and your damage and healing by 30% for 10 seconds. Now this is bugged right now to be an A attack power normalized buff for the attack speed. But as your attack speed goes up, your actual attack power, which scales all of your abilities, goes down to keep your melee damage roughly the same, despite the increased auto swing speed. That's not what I'm talking about here. The big issue is this 30% damage amp and this 30% damage amp. You're probably wondering, Voodoo, this says 15%. Well, it's actually 30% whenever you use Chaos Strike second, which means after Blade Dance, right? The effect of the second enhancement is increased by 100%. Now this is weird, because as gamers here, as Havoc Demon Hunters, we want to push Blade Dance as much as we can. It's one of our highest damaging abilities because of First Blood, right? 202,000 chaos damage to the first target struck. Also all the stuff with Dancing with Feint, anything like that. But by using this Reaver's Glaive and Reaver's Mark, what we want to do is we want to have it so that we use Blade Dance first, then use our Chaos Strike to apply the 30% damage amp, and then we also get this 30% damage amp as well. So by that time, we've already used all of your strongest damaging abilities, right? You've used Blade Dance already, which is basically our highest damage ability, like just period, right? You've used it already to set this up, and now you're just kind of sitting there for like 8 seconds or so while Blade Dance is on cooldown, and you're just wasting it on Thrill of the Fight and Chaos Strike Reaver's Mark uptime. And this has actually caused us to do a bit of a weird opener in order to actually get full value of this thing. So if we just swap over to our potential single target build here, I don't know if this stays, probably like this. Potential single target build here, obviously we have no sims. Our opener is like 19 globals long, just so that we can actually get full value here. Now there's a picture that Bees made in the Discord. Shout out Bees. It's a bit of a meme, but it actually shows our opener. You read left to right, and then once you hit the end of the first row, you go on down into the bottom there and go like boop, boop. I'll throw it up on the screen, but we're gonna do it right now. Okay, so we're gonna do the rotation right now. So it starts off with Immolation Aura, and this is also just our opener, right? This is the exact thing you have to do every single time. So Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, grab your soul. You wanna hunt in, throw your glaive immediately, Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, Sigil of Suffering, which is Elation Decree. Then you're gonna Fel Rush, Immolation Aura, Eye Beam, Fel Rush again. You have to grab all your souls here. Essence Break, Death Sweep, Reaver's Glaive, Meta, Death Sweep, Annihilation. I didn't even backflip. You're supposed to backflip in there. I didn't even do it properly, but you get the idea, right? That was a really slowed down version. But basically, you Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Hunt in, Reaver's Glaive, Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, Sigil of Suffering, which is Legion Decree, Fel Rush, Immolation Aura, Eye Beam, Fel Rush, Essence Break, Vengeful Retreat plus Death Sweep, Metamorphosis, Reaver's Glaive, Death Sweep, Annihilation, Eye Beam. And that is your opener. You have to do that every single time you have meta. That is going to be what you do to get the most damage. And there might be different scenarios where you don't have the hunt, and instead what you want to do is just bank up a Reaver's Glaive before that, right? So this adds a very, very rigid, very exact opener to a spec that already has really high rotational complexity. That doesn't even talk into the rest of our rotation, right? That is just the opener. That's when you have everything there. It should be simpler, but it is like 19 globals, and you have to do it in combat as well. Every time meta is up, you are doing this opener, which is ridiculous. On top of that, there's also the Reaver's Glaives in combat. Now, there's two things you want to do with Reaver's Glaive in combat. You want to keep up Reaver's Mark as much as physically possible, and also prep for your Essence Break window. So not only do we have to keep track of our Immolation Aura trackers, right? We have our Immolation Aura trackers and all that stuff. Right down, actually my weak aura doesn't really have one from what I can see, so I probably should get one, but whatever. You have to keep track of Immolation Aura's cooldown. You have to keep track of if it'll be up for inertia windows or Essence Break windows every like 20 seconds or so. We also have to keep track of our Reaver's Glaive. Every 20 seconds, you have to start prepping for your next thing, where if you get one, I'll just do a glaive here, where if you get one, you need to basically blade dance first, right? So this is kind of our little essence break window. We'll have an immolation aura, then we Reaver's Glaive, blade dance, we're going to then immolation aura, then you want to do I-beam, backflip plus Chaos Strike, then Fell Rush in, essence break, death sweep, boom, boom. That was me really pausing there because I'm also doing a video, but you have to prep for that like 8 GCDs beforehand, and you have to think about if you have the glaive up already. So that's because of the mark and the amp, right? Because we want the amps on our strongest abilities, we want the mark on our strongest abilities, and we want to keep these up as much as possible. So you have that friction about keeping the mark up as much as you can, because most of our souls, aside from Demonic Appetite, come from the tree itself, right? The second enhanced ability and pattern shatters additional soul fragment, and while Weaver's Mark is on target, your strikes have a chance to shatter a soul, which is like 20% or so. But a lot of your souls actually come from this tree. So if you ever drop the glaive, then you're going to have a lot less souls, and it's going to snowball a bit. So a lot of it's going to focus on keeping the glaive up, but also making sure you have it for essence break windows and for your meta, then doing that ridiculously long opener. And what that does whenever you're doing that, as well as doing boss combat, is add a bunch of cognitive load to the spec. Havoc's already a complex spec. We have burst windows with inertia, we have burst windows with initiative, we have burst windows with essence break, we have burst windows with demonic, and now we have burst windows with thrill of the fight and Reaver's Mark. So this is way more way more buffs to stack, and these buffs are longer buffs. They used to be 5 seconds, which was miserable, but because of the whole blade dance after or before you chaos strike thing and wanting to use blade dance within our windows, it kind of warps our entire rotation and kind of goes against what Havoc actually wants to be doing. On top of that, if you don't grab your souls in the opener, then you can't throw that second Reaver's Glaive, which causes you to lose a ton of damage because you're again missing the 10% increased damage to your death sweep. It's also buffed by Restless Hunter. You're missing the Incisive Blade thing, and you're also kind of missing Warblade's Hunger. So you're missing a ton of damage amp in that specific window, which lowers your burst and lowers your damage. So doing this with the boss mechanics happening is going to be impossible. Doing it with other, like just thinking, it's going to be really hard. It adds so much cognitive load. That plus the souls makes a really unfun hero talent tree. It really conflicts with what Havoc's doing. It really makes it so you're not really playing the spec still. You're kind of just playing soul generation simulator, which sucks and they're impossible to see. So all in all, I don't think it's great. So how do we fix it? What can we do to improve it? Let's talk about that. All right, so here's how I think we should fix Reaver's Glaive or Aldrachi Reaver or whatever. Now I have some feedback posts on the feedback thread. I'll link them here if you want to see them. I go over some of this stuff we not only talked about or shown. So I think the biggest culprits again are souls, just collecting them, seeing them. Generation sucks, but something we can do about that. Souls, Chaos Strike, Reaver's Mark, and Thrill of the Fight enhancement happening after you do your whole thing, because again, a lot of your damage is in that window, so the damage amp happening after it doesn't feel very good, warps the rotation. The first thing is souls. Now, again, we're going to talk about Spirit Bomb here because it's really, really good. It makes the souls kind of work for vengeance. Havoc has nothing like that. Now, I suggest that we add some kind of soul suck to a very common Havoc ability. Maybe Fell Rush, which I guess already kind of does it, but what I mean by soul suck is grabs them from very far, right? Fell Rush, obviously you can rush through them. A lot of times you Fell Rush, you don't even see a soul, or it's like way somewhere off in the distance, or it's like in a puddle or something. So make Fell Rush or Fell Blade or Chaos Strike just suck in all the souls within 100 yards. This is, I think, the same as Spirit Bomb. I'm pretty sure Spirit Bomb is also a 100-yard radius. It's very big. But this actually adds some parity to the two of them and makes souls, well, still a bad mechanic for Havoc because it's still pretty RNG, actually work as a mechanic in general for a spec that obviously if something is, you know, in a puddle or in a frontal, we can't get it, and that just sucks. So that's step 1. Step 2 and 3 are to break the Chaos Strike mark and the Thrill of the Fight mark. Now, I think Thrill of the Fight should just happen on Reaver's Glaive toss, which is very fine. This means you can actually do this just right before you Essence Break. It doesn't add that much rotational complexity to the rotation. Would just be adding one more global, which I think is great. Doesn't really change that many things. So this would be perfect. It really simplifies the rotation because it cuts out all the waiting GCDs for Blade Dance to come off cooldown. Now, the other thing is that you probably would still not want to Blade Dance. You still have to wait for the Blade Dance because Reaver's Mark is so powerful and we need that Reaver's Mark 30% damage amp on the target. I suggest, because damage amps on targets are never fun, that they just changed Chaos Strike applying Reaver's Mark to Chaos Strike just doing a large additional glaive strike to one target, right? The Blade Dance does 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby targets for 50 whatever thousand damage each. Have Chaos Strike do a 1 single target large damage hit to your target that is roughly equal to the power level of what we have right now, right? So the idea is that you'd use the Chaos Strike enhancement in single target or the Blade Dance enhancement in AoE, which is what we're doing currently, except the 30% damage amp is much more rotationally warping. If it's just a single hit of damage, then it means you can actually do your rotation as we normally are doing it and still keep up the flavor of, do I Chaos Strike first, do I Blade Dance first, right? It also allows a lot more of a choice between Chaos Striking and Blade Dancing, because the difference between 15% increased damage for 20 seconds and 30% increased damage for 20 seconds is much, much more than just like this much damage or this much damage, right? That much damage amp for that long is insane, right? We need to keep that as much as time. So by just having to do damage, you have a lot more options in cleave. You have a lot more options in like 2-target cleave, 3-target cleave, where maybe Reaver's Mark is just always better. This allows the Blade Dance stuff to breathe a lot more, and it feels a lot worse if you accidentally mess up your rotation, because if you Reaver's Glaive and you don't have Blade Dance on available to use, you are forced to just sit there, because if you Chaos Strike first, the 15% amp overwrites the 30% amp. So you kind of just, if you mess up the rotation and you don't have Blade Dance when you throw your glaive, congratulations, you're going to sit there for about 6 to 7 seconds while Blade Dance comes off cooldown. So you just ruined your rotation and now you have to wait, which is great. Waiting, capping resources doesn't feel great. So in conclusion, what do I want to see for this silly little spec? Well, we have to fix the soul issue. That means giving some kind of suck or some kind of ability for weak auras to track souls, because unlike Vengeance, Havoc cannot track them. So adding a suck to Fel Rush, Chaos Strike, Fel Blade, something low cooldown, something Havoc pushes all the time would be great. And then step 2 is break the buff and debuff thing. Only have one of them. I would much rather you keep the 30% damage amp for 10 seconds because it's a lot more interesting, a lot more availability on like choice on what to do with that, and just turn the mark into a massive single target hit, right? So you keep the interplay of, do I Blade Dance first, do I Chaos Strike first? If it's single target, you want to Blade Dance first. If it's AoE, you want to Chaos Strike first. But it keeps that and doesn't ruin our rotation by having to set up your windows by Blade Dancing 8 seconds before you do it and then doing all this weird delay stuff. And it also doesn't ruin your rotation, where if you throw Reaver's Glaive and you don't have a Blade Dance ready, you just have to kind of sit there and not use Chaos Strike. I think those things will go a long way in fixing Aldrachi Reaver. So I hope that in this video, I kind of showed you what the problems are, what I think my solutions could be, and just hopefully how we can make this spec be better. Because it's strong, and I think it could be pretty fun if these kind of really stupid idiosyncrasies and stuff like that are fixed. If they're not fixed, it's gonna kind of suck. It's looking like it's gonna be really, really powerful, and we're gonna just play it. We'll see about Felsguard, but at least in a raid, probably looking like Reaver. It's really crazy to me if it's tuned to not be as good. I guess this video is for nothing. But yeah, so there you have it. Now, this is recorded on a Monday and posted on a Tuesday, hopefully. So if there's a blue post tonight that fixes all these problems, well, then I'm gonna be happy in the next video. But if not, we're kind of screwed, and I hope it gets fixed. So that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. All the good stuff. Appreciate you all. You guys are amazing. People heart, and I'll see you guys later. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you, Sky Elk, Andrew Keenel, 100,001 Zans, Brad Wisniak, Felfa Darren Dark Terror, and Magic Man 133. Thank you all so much. If you want to help support me and help fund the channels and the videos, follow the link in the description to become a channel member and get some cool perks in the process. Again, thank you all so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.